When I saw your show, Mulaney, your TV show,
Uh-huh.
I could not help but think of its relationship with the television program Seinfeld.
Yes, you're not the only one.
Right. And I'm curious about your relationship. Many of the things you were just saying about trying to conjure timeless material and not necessarily talk simply of the news of the day, it reminded me and continues to remind me. I mean, you remind me a little bit of Jerry Seinfeld. I hope this doesn't bother you, but I just am
No, I'm a
curious.
fan of his. Dude.
Okay, it seems obvious, but I want to ask you about your relationship with Jerry Seinfeld and his work. Where does this stem from? Your affection for him?
Oh, well, look, if I were to fill out a form of like your influences, I normally think about people that I maybe specifically their style felt like, oh, I could do that. And I might try to think of names of people that are not pure stand-ups because I think, oh, well, sometimes I'll do sort of charactery bits. And I might make you a list of people that is, impressive and interesting and makes me sound more interesting than I am. But I might not remember that like Jerry Seinfeld's comedy and voice was a weekly part of my life for 9 years, formative years from age 7 to 15, 16. I mean, that to me like was what a TV show sounded like. And he was what a stand-up comedian sounded like. And at the same time, I was collecting albums of other comedians and Bring the Pain and Bigger and Blacker came out, and Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and all these people I was huge fans of, but somewhere in the back of my mind, just the sort of metronome of what comedy TV sounded like was Seinfeld. So I can't underestimate how much that's in my brain, which is a long-winded way of saying he's an influence.
No, he's an influence on myself and for sure. I mean,
But I don't know. There's many people for whom this is true for Howard Stern too. Is you just cannot. You may think, well, my influences are these 5 people whose work really, in my adult or teen adult years, I really. But like, you can't underestimate the people that you just listen to every day and whose rhythms you've absorbed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's been rejected in some ways by you made a pivot towards a list that you might be asked to make and how you might talk about sort of cooler people. But Jerry,
No, I didn't mean that at all.
okay.
I meant that sometimes people are such a given
Oh,
that you don't immediately think, oh yes, of my 3 influences, that was one.
okay.
And yes, just to set the record straight.
Yeah.
I didn't mean I would pick like, Bill Hicks and David Byrne just to sound cool. No, I meant more that like he's so internalized, as I think he is with a lot of people in my generation.
Yeah, and for me as well. But I have been fascinated to see him endure these backlashes lately for his statements when he's been outspoken about political correctness or even made poor judgment calls when he's tweeted or whatnot. There seems to be he's in a weird phase, I think, in some ways. He's very successful, he's doing fine, but I think there is this sense that he's a bit out of touch somehow.
I don't share that. I'm aware of times when statements he said get a lot of press. I saw him at the Pantages a little over a year ago, and he was hilarious. I mean, he's destroying for an hour.
Yeah.
So he's definitely not in a weird phase as a comedian. I think the culture goes through cycles with people, but I really don't even know if it is with him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
think sometimes those stories, this for me personally, if it affected a bunch of other people, I don't know, but I saw that kind of come and go, like, oh yes, sometimes people question statements and then that moves on.
Sure.
And I still watch the show whenever I flip past it. So I would say he's still quite a constant and still really killing on stage.